Hey guys, I'm testing out these new microphones. I finally got them working. I'm going to do a meal prep video for you. If you like the videos I've been putting out, like, comment, share, subscribe, all those things. It does help me continue this channel and make this a thing. I have recently started cutting, so this one's going to be a little lower calorie, just like the last one. I'll have all the nutrition facts and stuff in the comments, macro ratios, calories, individual macro counts, all that stuff, as well as how long it's going to take. So again, this is going to include recording and all that stuff, which slows me down a little bit. Just like the last one, I'm just doing 6 meals. It is currently 3:45. So we're going to have the full setup. So we got our 3 green bell peppers, a Vidalia onion. We're going to keep 1 habanero pepper in just to keep my spice tolerance going. We got the crushed tomato, and you can see here, if you go not just to the calories and the macros, but to the ingredients, especially when you're on a cut, you're going to want to make sure that you're getting something like a tomato sauce. It's just like tomato. We got some citric acid in there, which is, a little extra, but a lot of these sauces and stuff will have a lot of added sugar. So you want to make sure, this is, 20 calories per serving. We're going to put the whole can in there, but then you're going to divide it by 6 for the 6 meals. So this is, especially if you're cutting, you want to make sure that you're getting something that has got a lot of added sugars and stuff, because a lot of them will. Pro tip, at a normal grocery store, you're going to find the healthier things usually on the top shelves and the bottom shelves. The middle shelves are usually, because these are, eye level, these are for the people, the majority of people that are not looking for healthier options. So the stuff with added sugars and stuff like that typically going to be on the shelves that are right in front of your face. For the healthier stuff, for the lower sugar, lower sodium, whatever it is you're looking for, you're going to find that on the top shelves and the bottom shelves almost every time. We're going to put a whole bunch of mushrooms in here. So we got sliced baby bella, sliced white mushrooms on the side. We're going to go with chicken breast for this one, so we're going to have to chop that up. That is going to take a little bit more time. We've got a little less than 4 pounds total. Again, divided up in 6. We have a big container of baby spinach here. This entire thing's going to go in there. It is quite large, but spinach, especially when heated, tends to shrink down a lot. So as far as how much space it's going to take up, not very much. The only other thing we got is the Italian seasonings that I'm going to be using. And that is the theme of today, is a more Italian. Italian is my favorite cuisine. I don't have any Italian in my blood, but it's my favorite food. I went to Italy last summer after competing at the Chaos Classic, and some of the best food I've ever had in my life. So yeah, if you get a little Italian craving, this is a good meal to maintain that cut, but still to enjoy some things. Because as I've said previously, if you're on a diet that's going to be long-term and that you're already looking forward to the end of it, it's not the right diet for you. Diet is about stress management. It is about managing those cravings and stuff like that. So you have to find things that fit what you're doing. They need to be, within your calorie budget, but you should enjoy some things day to day. Otherwise, you're gonna fail. So if you're on a diet and you just hate everything you eat, you're already fucking up. All right, so we're going to start with this big thing of spinach. We're going to put this in the bottom, and then everything else can kind of rest on it, crush it down. I don't want to put it in last and have it kind of be spilling out of the container. Like I said, this will shrink down as it goes, and it's not going to put a lot of resistance up. So as I put the diced up chicken on there, the mushrooms and everything, it'll go down. So we'll just work all of this into there. So yeah, you can see it's filling up the entire crock pot, which could be a little alarming. But again, once we throw some stuff on there and it gets heated, it'll shrink down substantially, and we won't have any problem with it. And then just kind of push it down a little bit. And then at this point, we'll put our seasonings in there as well. So we're gonna start with basil. And again, this is 6 meals, so really just go fucking crazy with it. It's gonna depend on your individual taste, obviously. But I like a lot of the stuff in there. I'm gonna switch over to cilantro. Some people think this tastes like soap. I'm not one of them. We'll put cilantro in there as well. Maybe not quite as much. Garlic. I'm just gonna put the entire rest of this in there. You can't really There's no such thing. Actually, you know what? We're going to need more than that. You can't have too much garlic. All right, yeah, let's get more garlic in there. Next, we're going to go with some parsley. One of my personal favorites, oregano. And again, just like the garlic, we're going to put a pretty ridiculous amount of that in here. And then black pepper. And the last thing we're putting is iodized sea salt. All right, now we're going to cut up the chicken breast. How you do this is going to vary person to person. Some people want to cut off all the fat. For me, it's kind of a texture thing. Some of the fat is harder and thicker, and I'll get rid of those portions. But otherwise, leave the fat on there. Fats, especially in chicken. Chicken is pretty low fat content to begin with. That fat's actually going to be good slow burning energy. It's not going to be a lot for your macros, and so yeah, I remove large chunks of it, but I don't go around each breast, meticulously removing all the fat I can find. I used to do that, so I know that there are people that do that, but you don't have to do that. And the fat and the cartilage and the ligaments and the tendons, that's going to be the thicker white portions. Perfectly fine to eat. Obviously, if something is really hard, like a hard piece of cartilage, or depending on where you get your meat, if there's bone, obviously remove that. But it's going to be pretty easy to figure out as like a judgment call. The size that you cut it into is going to be up to you. We are putting all of this into a crock pot, so we're not worried about it not being cooked all the way through. Cooking it on high for 4 minutes, wow, 4 hours is going to cook the chicken all the way through. It's going to be sitting in that tomato sauce, so the heat's going to transfer in there. It's going to be cooked all the way through. So if you want to do larger chunks, if you want to do smaller chunks, if you're wondering why you would have a personal preference on that, just think about when you're eating this as like kind of a full meal, with the bell pepper, with the mushrooms, with the tomato sauce, all that stuff. It's just going to be how much can you fit on your spoon. What size spoon are you using? Is a single thing of chicken going to take up the entire spoon to where you got to eat it by itself? Especially when you're eating chicken all the time, people can get bored of it. And if you're eating it in large chunks by itself, you can get sick of it quicker. So making it in smaller pieces, obviously you're gonna have to put the effort into cutting it into smaller pieces, and so that can be its own, undesirable. But as far as the sizing goes, that's gonna change person to person just based on your preferences. You can use ground chicken for this. I've done that for a long time. But with cutting, the ground chicken is going to have higher fat content, just because with ground meat of any kind, they're just kind of throwing a bunch of stuff in the meat grinder. It's stuff that usually you would probably not want to eat, and it just all gets ground up, blended together. So you are going to get fattier cuts and all that stuff. With chicken breast, you're getting a very lean cut. Chicken breast is a very lean meat, very low calorie. It's not just protein, but it's predominantly protein. So again, on a cut, I'm going to lean on chicken breast more frequently than when I'm bulking. And then we're going to pop that in on top of the bed of spinach. All right, next we're going to cut up the onion. So the way I've been shown to do it, and it's worked pretty well, you cut off the top, you cut off the bottom, like so. And then you just peel the top layer. Of course, the one I got doesn't peel as easily as they normally do, which is great for the video. But once you have that outer shell removed, top and bottom, then you just kind of cut it into semicircles and chop it up. And it's important to have PPE for this. These are reflective sunglasses, so as my eyes start watering, no one can see it. So there's one half and the other, and we're going to put this entire thing in there. Since this is 6 meals, we want to make sure that we service every one of those meals, just like the garlic, just like the basil, just like the oregano. onion is going to be very important for the flavor of this. And they can be larger chunks. They don't have to be super tiny. If you've got a food processor, you can use that, and I do have one, and I'm not using it just because. But you don't want them in huge chunks, you know, unless that's your preference. I personally don't want to have a spoonful of just a giant bit of onion. I think it blends a lot better in much smaller pieces throughout the entire meal with everything else. But as long as you have the ingredients for this, there are some areas where you can do your own preferences. And my eyes are definitely not watering. Oh, you're just going to sprinkle that on there as well. Not really sprinkling, I'm kind of just throwing, but it'll all mix in. Especially when you scoop it all out afterwards. It tends to, at least in the years that I've been doing this, it tends to end up in pretty decent proportions. You just scoop a little of each layer of what you added into each bowl so it all gets a little bit. And you just eyeball it, just like I said last time. You might not be consuming the exact same calories every single day, but if you eyeballed it and you got it pretty close, they're going to be close enough, and at the end of the week your weekly calories are still going to be met, and that's still going to give you the results you want, especially if you are a what we call Gen Pop, or non-competing, just someone looking to get in a little bit better shape, be a little bit healthier. As long as you're hitting your macros for the week, it's okay if there's variance day to day. You don't want a lot of variance day to day, but some variance day to day because you eyeballed, you know exactly what you have across all 6 meals, but you don't know, you didn't weigh each individual ingredient. That's okay. A lot of people end up eating meals during a dieting phase that are just absolutely garbage because they don't want, I mean garbage taste-wise, because they don't want to have a meal where they don't know exactly the number of macros. And to me, that's just ridiculous. I know exactly how many macros and calories are in this entire thing. I divide it by 6, and that gets me close enough. And I've been very successful with my weight cuts, obviously with bodybuilding. That's outside of my expertise. I'm sure I'll be given explicit instructions during prep on more specific things, but that's a very niche case. That's not going to be, everyday people. All right, we washed the habanero and the green bell peppers off camera because we did that last time, and you don't need to see that every time. We're only doing 1 habanero pepper. Habanero pepper is not, at least as far as I know, is not Italian. But again, I've done a pretty good job getting my spice tolerance up, and I want to keep it going. So I don't know if I need to or not, but we're putting the habanero and the seeds in there. And that's all there is to it. Now we're going to cut the tops off the green bell peppers and discard those. And then we're just going to chop them up. These can be a little bit larger. They don't have to be, but they can be. I like to do them in kind of the slices that you'd see on like a pizza. A little bit longer, but not super long. It's all preference. It's all whatever you want. But the green bell pepper is going to do a good job of adding some flavor to it. And it's just, a low amount of carbs. It's not adding a lot. It's going to fatten you up or ruin your calorie budget. Probably not going to show you me chopping up the other 2 because if you saw the first one, it's really the same thing again. Oh yeah. The only thing left is the mushrooms, which again, the mushrooms get put in raw into the containers. I might put half of them in at about 3 hours of the 4-hour cook time, just to get them a little bit, but the other half will definitely be raw, and we'll distribute those as appropriate. All right, so we place down the lid and then on, and we're going to leave it at 4 hours on high. Like I said in my previous video, most of my recipes are 4 hours on high. So we're going to take 1 container of the sliced white mushrooms, and we'll distribute that evenly among the 6 containers. Now we're going to take a container of the sliced baby Bella mushrooms. Oh, I forgot I was heating up my meal prep while I recorded video. I don't know, that's not very professional. That's okay, we're just starting off. We'll get there. And yeah, so as far as right now, prep is complete. Again, when there's an hour left, we will put the other mushrooms into the crock pot. And the only other thing that isn't recorded yet, because it doesn't get added until you heat up each one, is cheese. Obviously, depending on what dieting phase you're in, you're going to want to use different types of cheese. You can use like a lower fat type of cheese if you're deep in a cut, or you can use a nicer cheese if you're early in a cut. I'm going to end up going and using provolone slices, full fat, full everything, because I am early in my cut. But as I get further in the cut, there are reduced calorie options. And then if you get really deep in a cut, 1, you probably won't be doing this particular meal anymore, but 2, you can just take the cheese out. I like cheese. I think it's an important part of this type of food, so I'm going to use it. But yeah, that won't be until, Tuesday, when I heat these meals up. They'll come out of the microwave, and then when they're piping hot, that's when the cheese goes on and just kind of melts as the meal cools down. You don't put it in during the cooking. You don't put it in during the heating. It's only afterwards, so there won't be any of that right now. All right, so there was a little bit more things distracting me. I had to heat up my meal prep. I had to do some organizational stuff. So this wasn't just prepping this meal. So that did delay things a little bit. But you can see it's been 1 hour since I started. The meal prep is going. We are going to have to add the 2 containers of mushrooms. That's going to take, 2 minutes? And that's the only thing left, and then scooping it out. We're going to have to add the slice of cheese after we heat each one. Again, that's a non-starter for time. But we are completely cleaned up. The cutting board is clean and away. The knife is clean and away. That's my meal prep container with the meal I'm about to eat. The cans of tomato sauce are in the recycle bin. Like 1 hour to prep 6 meals and do all the cleanup. That's all it took. And I even got, like I said, I had other things that I had to deal with during that time that delayed it. So you're looking at, for this meal, about 45 minutes of full-time commitment, including cleanup, prep, everything. So yeah, just like last time, I'll have the calories, the macros, all that stuff in the comments, or not in the comments, in the description. All right, yeah, so just like I was saying, we got 52 minutes left, so it's been going for a little over 3 hours, and you can see, I mean, that was way fuller earlier. So everything's kind of shrunken down, primarily the spinach, which leaves us a lot of room in there. So we're gonna add the other half of the mushrooms, and they can cook for about an hour. All right, so first the baby bellas, I'll just dump them in. And then the sliced white, we just dump them in. See, that took almost no time. And now, with one hand, we'll put the lid back on. And then it'll cook for the other 50 minutes, just like that. So they'll get a little bit of cooking, but they're not gonna be super soggy. And then they'll go into the bowls, or rather the meal prep containers that way, to be reheated with everything else. with the cheese over the top. I'm telling you, this shit tastes real good. And again, check the description for the calorie count.